Yes. Okay, so, excuse me a second.
Yeah.
Switch gears a little bit.
Okay, so this is the resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with NBS Local Government Solutions to provide services relating to the renewal of the citywide PBID to fund the Emery Go-Round Shuttle for an amount not to exceed $60,000.
Yes. So the last time that the council discussed the Emery Go-Round Shuttle and potential long-term funding strategies, staff gave a report kind of the recommendation that had partly come out of our Emery Go-Round Task Force, as well as further discussions with the Emeryville Transportation Management Association that funds the Emery Go-Round. And the general consensus was that the primary way of funding the Emery Go-Round going forward is a continuation of the citywide property-based business improvement district. But however, unlike the one in the past, there might be more work needed to look at things such as general versus special benefit. There might be some interest in fine-tuning some of the land uses, which are the basis of the specific fees that are assessed. So for example, currently, there's kind of two broad commercial categories of commercial, which includes office as well as retail, and industrial warehouse. And those are the only two ways in which commercial parcels are now separated out. And then there's a separate rental housing per unit charge as well. And so in order to be able to look at some of the changes in law, changes in court cases that have been around business improvement districts and property business improvement districts, which is what the Emery Go-Round, the citywide PBID is, to also then be able to prepare the engineer's report. That's the basis for the nexus between the levying of the assessment and the special benefit that would be derived, and what that means in terms of particular fees assessed, as well as then developing the management plan that would be put to a Prop 218 ballot process, in which the parcel owners have the ability to do a protest vote if they choose. Then all of that is something that the city staff does not have the expertise or the ability to focus upon. So as we've done in the past two go-rounds of the PBID, we had told council that we would be going forward with obtaining a consultant to do this work. NBS is the consultant that has done this work in the past for us. One difference this time is that in the scope of work, that in the past they've also been the one to count the Prop 218 ballots, but there is the opportunity in their current scope that either they can count them as they did in the past for a fairly nominal fee, or if so desired at that point, the city could choose to go with an outside vendor, and that would have some bit more of a cost to it. But that's not a decision that I'm asking the council or we need to make tonight, but just to give you some sense of what's in the scope of work. I did send the scope of work to the TMA director. Didn't get anything back in terms of the scope. It's a fairly general scope, really. It really is going to be based upon what the series of meetings are with different stakeholders that the city will be helping to pull together, which includes not just the members of the TMA board, but other stakeholders, including representatives of residents and and others in the city. So that will all be part of the work that will dictate what ends up in the completed engineer's report and management plan that then the different property owners will have an opportunity to vote upon. So the amount of the budget is not to exceed $60,000. Some of the work is kind of a flat fee for tasks. Some of the work, particularly in the beginning, is really time, because it's not clear, those were some of the more ambiguous or more hard to be very specific. So for example, some of the discussions around fine-tuning perhaps the different land uses, that might be a very short part of the contract, or it could be more elaborate. So we did take into consideration that there would be some times in which time as opposed to flat fee might be more advantageous. Lastly, the funding for this contract, the staff is requesting that the council, in approving this contract, also appropriate the $60,000 from non-departmental services if the PBID is established going forward, then that money is reimbursable from the new PBID, and that money would be included as part of what's being generated. That's what's been done in the past and that the last 2 times, and that would be true going forward. So it is money that there is some risk. If, for example, this process did not result in a PBID being established, then it would be the general fund that would be covering the cost. But if it is, then those funds are completely reimbursable.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ruth.
At what point would the council be able to weigh in onto how the PBID would be restructured?
I might ask for Mike's help in this. A bid is really of the assessed parcels, and so the city kind of has 2 parts to play. The city does pay into the assessment currently, as do any public agents are supposed to, but really the council's role is after the engineer's report's completed, after the management plan is completed, after there's the Prop 218 ballot process and the parcel owners weigh in, then the council has that opportunity to either establish the district or not. However, there are going to be community meetings in which, certainly the council can be part of and be part of hearing what the community has to say. But it really is more of, I would say, kind of a bottom-up process than a top-down process.
Anyone else with questions for Karen? Let's hear from the public at this time. Any public comment?
Andy Gatz, thank you very much for continuing to this meeting. It's very helpful to have read the scope of work. I find it thin on details and short on meetings and consideration of options. And in spite of that, I urge you to pass it tonight and get going and get it started. But brace yourselves, it may be more than $60,000 and it may take a little bit longer. But the sooner you start, the easier it'll be to build consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, good evening, Mayor and council members. Stuart Flashman, and I'm here on behalf of the Emeryville Property Owners Association. And we are not opposed to this item, but the Property Owners Association does have some concerns, and I suppose you could say this is a shot across the bow, which is to say that the last PBID that was done, which was done by the same group, the Emery Property Owners Association considers was very inadequate. It was not challenged, but this one will be if it's as inadequate as the last one. There, as was mentioned in the staff report, there were only 2 categories of commercial properties. That's really inadequate. The assessments are supposed to be proportional to this benefit conferred, the special benefit conferred, and it really needs that item, that the key word there is proportionate. And the last one was not really proportionate. For one thing, the Emery go-around, while it does go around all the city, doesn't go to every single street, doesn't go to every single address. The benefit needs to be proportionate to the ease of access to the Emery go-around. If you have a business that's located 2 blocks or a rental property that's located 2 blocks from the nearest Emery go-around stop, they should not be getting the same assessment as someone who has an Emery go-around stop right in front of them. And likewise, the size of the business is not simply a matter of square footage. All of those things need to be taken into account. One of the things that I'd suggest you may want to consider is actually doing a very quick and informal review of the ridership of the Emery go-around, see where are they getting on, where are they getting off, and who are they. Because that'll tell you essentially how the benefit is being distributed, and that should tell you how the assessment should be distributed. And if it's not done right, I think you're vulnerable to a challenge. One other question I have for you is has anyone looked into how this is going to tie in with the Measure B funding? Because there is funding in Measure B for shuttles. I don't know how that works in terms of the fact that this is being funded by the PBID rather than by a public agency.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ashner, council members. Bob Cantor, I'm President and CEO of the Emeryville Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on the board of the Emeryville Transportation Management Association. There's a designated Chamber of Commerce spot, and I'm the person that's been designated. I am not here. I've not been designated by the TMA board to speak on behalf of the entire board, just for myself and the chamber. First of all, we can't trump too much what Andy just said, but we urge you to move forward. We all know the value of the Emeryville to our city. You can only imagine what the city would look like if we didn't have it. To Mr. Flashman's point, there is data, I'm sure the staff has, on where people get on and off, and I don't mean just at the MacArthur BART station. I don't know if we know who they are. I think that's what Mr. Flashman asked that point, but we know there is data on boardings and off-boardings and onboardings at the different places. And the TMA staff, the Gray Bowen folks have that, and it's probably a public. You can probably get it. If you want, Mr. Flashman, I can help you obtain that. But in spite of the fact that whatever flaws may be in here, it's important we get going. We move this forward. There are opportunities and will be opportunities for property owners, community members to voice their opposition and ultimately vote against it. If they want to vote against it, they can do that. We hope they don't. But we urge you to please move forward tonight and get the process going. Thank you.
Hello, Kim Bukowski. Yeah, I urge you to move forward, but I really don't think your options should just be limited to a PBID. I actually don't think a PBID is the right funding formula for this type of a service. It's got nothing to do with personal opinion. It's the only one in the state that does operate a bus service. And I don't think you can provide the specific benefit that the law calls for. So that's just one of the, but why wouldn't you want to look at other options? Why wouldn't you want to have a community meeting about it? I mean, I think you need to do that, and I think you should look at some other options. Thank you.
Questions from council, comments?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item